In this video, I'm going to expose Cole Gordon's $30 million a year funnel. Not only that, I'm also going to show you some of the secrets behind the scenes that you would simply not know by funnel hacking and going through it yourself.
But Aaron, how would you know this secret insider information?
Well, I've actually worked alongside Cole for the last 5 years to help optimize different aspects of the funnel and make sure it's the best that it can be to generate more leads, more sales calls, and ultimately more revenue. Now, really quickly, if you're new to the channel, what's going on? My name is Aaron Martinez, and I work directly with Cole Gordon and Closer.io. All I do all day long is nerd out about marketing, and as you can see by the shirt, I make a ton of ads, right? Make more ads. That's your reminder to do so. So all I'm doing on this channel is just taking everything that we're learning from building a $30 million a year company and passing them off to you for free here on YouTube. So we're gonna cover 3 main things in this video. Number 1 is just a general funnel breakdown. So show you the steps, show you the different pages within the funnel so we have ultimate context there. The second thing is really going over the behind the scenes of what actually make this funnel work, because there's really 3 main aspects that if we didn't do this, this funnel would not work at all, and it's what a lot of people are actually missing. And then finally, we're going to do the hidden only qualified lead system so that you can set up your calendar, right? Your sales call calendar in a way where you're only talking to the highest quality people and just make you more money because you're talking to more qualified people. Now, I usually don't do this in these videos, but some of the questions I've been getting on these videos is like, Aaron, yeah, this works for you, but how do I know this can work for me? Well, these are some wins over just the last like 2 to 3 weeks or so. We have this person here hitting 76,000 the first 1.5 weeks of running this, 26K in the first 20 days of a brand new offer, 300,000 cash collected in a single month, 83,000 and 74,000 cash in the first 8 days in the month of running this, $88,000 month, as well as a best month ever, $556,000 in a single month by running this exact same play. So, all right, Aaron, that's enough. Let's jump into the actual value in this video. So right here, just to give you an overview, this is ultimately what our funnel looks like. If you've seen me or my face or Cole's face, you've probably been through this a time or two, gotten hit with an ad, maybe specifically even this ad here. So essentially what we have here is we have our front end ad. So essentially like any ad, right? We have the video, we have the copy as well. If you want to really look at the ads, it's all public information. So you go find more of them if you want to check out those. And then we have our learn more button. Now, when someone goes in and clicks this learn more button, they're going to get thrown over here into what is called an opt-in page or a landing page. So essentially what we do, and there's a couple like psychological things in here that happen. First things first is our disqualifying statement. So what we're trying to do is based on the messaging of who we're trying to bring through the funnel, there's like multiple ways and places within the funnel where we're trying to push people away because we don't want unqualified people in the funnel, right? It's when you do that and you don't have this qualifying messaging is you start to get a bunch of unqualified people that you can't actually help, that come through the funnel. So we just want to be very, very clear of, hey, this is only for coaches, consultants, and digital marketing agencies only, right? If it's not you, take a hike. Get off this page, right? So our guarantee, right? Give me 7 days, I'll place you with a proven appointment setter. If they don't book you 40 plus sales calls in the first month, you don't pay. And then obviously we go through, hey, put your information down below, click the get started button. But again, you can see here, we double down. If you do not own a coaching course business or a marketing agency, do not request information and please leave this page now. So we're doing as much as humanly possible to weed out the unqualified people. So essentially, again, we have our opt-in page. So someone clicks the get started button, they're going to put in their name, phone number, and email. And then they're going to immediately go to this page. Now, I'm not going to break down the entire VSL, but they go through our VSL. So this is I believe this one specifically is 15 minutes, I want to say. A 15-minute video, and it basically breaks down who we are, what we help, case studies, and then the actual implementation of how we could potentially help somebody. Now, again, right here, we have basically reiterating all the same information here. Really quick tip, you want all of the messaging that you have on this main funnel or main page, right, main opt-in page, to mimic what is on this next page. And I know that might sound obvious, but anytime there is a mismatch between the messaging on this page and the messaging on this page, you start to lose trust and then people just ultimately get confused. But we just want to hammer into their heads, right? Give us 7 days and we'll place you with an appointment setter or you don't pay, right? That's our ultimate guarantee. So that's going to be the page here, right? They watch the VSL, and if they want to, they're going to go in and actually schedule a demo down below. So when they click the schedule demo button, it's going to bring them to an application, right? In this application, this is the first page of the application. Remember, we're trying to weed people out, right? So complete this short application. And the first question, Do you specifically have a product or service-based business with a price point of $2,500 or more? If not, stop and leave this page immediately, right? Because we want to push away the people, right? Add friction for the people that might not be the best fit to work with us. And not in a negative way, just like we have a very specific offer and a very specific way that we help people. And we don't want to just bring people in and have conversations with them and waste their time and waste our time ultimately. Now, in the application, I don't have every single page actually on here because it'd just be kind of a lot, but we only have 7 questions, or only have 7 questions on the application. So we have first name, last name, email, phone number, right? That's just the standard. I don't know, my pen's not working. Just the standard information, right? And then we ultimately go through these are really our qualifying / disqualifying questions, which is we ask, what are you doing in your business in terms of monthly revenue? What is your core business and your offer, right? So who do you help? Who do you serve, right? What's the actual product that you're selling to people? And then ultimately is the job title, right? So we want to figure out, are they the CEO? Are they a manager? Are they an assistant, right? Who is actually filling this out? And you can probably tell, we'll talk about here in a second, is this what we're asking this for? Actually, we'll wait for a second because I'm going to go a little bit deeper into each of those things. And then the last page here is ultimately a book a call page, right? They go to this page, step number 2, book your demo below. And then, of course, we just give them the different options multiple times to book in here. Now, I'm going to give you a little sneak peek here because I didn't include this later on, but this is very important, is there's this thing called the booking window. So we'll just say booking window. Window. That's not how you spell that, but booking window. You only want to allow people to book out 48 to 72 hours from the time of when they're watching or when they're looking at the calendar, because we found that anything past the 72-hour mark is going to dramatically decrease the show rate, right? So you want to, if you're running ads, you're paying for these calls. So you want to make sure as many of these people actually show up as humanly possible. Now, at this point, you might be saying, Aaron, I know what your funnel is. I've already taken screenshots and screen recordings and I've already duplicated the entire thing. Well, there's 3 things that happen on the back end that you would not be able to see on the front end that I'm going to break down for you guys right here. So the front end ad, really, there's nothing, I wouldn't say there's nothing special about it, but there's nothing secret that we're doing on the front end in terms of the ad, other than some of the other videos that I've talked about, direct script for B2B, indirect script for B2C, all those types of things. I have other videos on the channel if you want to check that out. But the front end ad, pretty basic for the most part. Now, here is where the magic point number 1, we'll say, actually happens. So what's happening on our opt-in and landing page is, like I said, we're gathering information. So when you click this get started button, is they don't go to the next page and have the ability to watch the video unless they fill out their name, their phone number, and their email. And you might be saying, yeah, Aaron, that's obvious. You're going to send them a text and you're going to send them, a nurture sequence. Well, a lot of people do know this, but I've talked to a handful of people that they're like, yeah, we get the name, phone number, email, and we just let people self-book. But what we actually do, and really what Closers.io is known for, is having and placing outbound appointment setters. So what we do is sub 5 minutes, I put it here, right? Within 5 minutes, we have physical human beings, right? Not AI setters, not AI automation, human setters that get this information, right? Name, phone, number, email, zapped over to a Slack channel and into our outbound dialing system, where they're going to call all of those people, right? They're going to call every single person that puts in the name, phone number, email within 5 minutes. And what they're going to do, maybe I'll make a follow-up video. I mostly talk about marketing, not too much about sales on this channel. But if you want the triage script, like what that conversation looks like, leave me a comment down below and we can chat about it. But essentially, we're going to call them within 5 minutes. And the crazy thing here, guys, is this is for, if we're looking at anywhere from $2 to $3 million per month within the company, 30 to 35% of our revenue is directly attributed to the setters outbounding those people. So if we looked at that, right, 2 to 3 million a month, we could be losing out on 35%, right, of our revenue if we didn't implement this process. So what I would ask you is, what is happening when your people are coming through? Are you only taking direct bookings? Are you only, letting people fill out the applications? What's happening to the rest of those people? Are you just like hoping and praying that, at some point they see enough emails to convert? Yes, that is a good strategy. But if you want to actively grow your business and you're telling yourself, Aaron, I really want to grow my business, I want to take a more, not necessarily aggressive, but more just like take initiative, right? Take an initiative approach, then you want to outbound call all those people. Again, let me know down in the comments and I can do a full video around the scripting around that. But this is a huge piece that allows you to get more, right? Increase efficiency of how much you're getting from your funnel. So then this brings us to the VSL page. Again, VSL page, nothing too crazy, right? There is, I will say maybe I'll do a whole other video about the VSL, but there's a lot of psychology, a very specific framework that is used in every single VSL that we do. You can go check it out and listen to it if you want to. But essentially, we have the VSL page, nothing too crazy there other than what happens in the VSL itself. So after the VSL page, like we talked about before, we have the application. We kind of covered this already, but there's a little sneaky hidden thing in here. This is hidden thing number 2 is what happens is obviously we have first name, last name, email, phone, monthly revenue, core business, and their job title. But what we have implemented is using Typeform, and you might, don't quote me on this, you might be able to do this with GHL, right? High level. I think we've tried it before and it's a little bit clunky. Wasn't the best. Like Typeform just kind of, that's all they focus on, right? GHL, the way that I talk about it is like, it's the jack of all trades, master of none. Typeform, all they do is forms. So they're just really, really good at it, right? So what happens is we use this feature called partial submissions within Typeform. So what that does is actually what happens is when someone comes in here and they fill in this information, right? First name, last name, email, and phone number. What happens is this information, even if the person doesn't fill out the rest of these pieces of information, is when they fill out that information, let's say, for example, they go through and they're like, oh, okay, I got to put in this information. And then they like start thinking that these questions are like too intrusive, or they're like, oh my gosh, I got to answer a million questions. And let's say they leave, which to be honest with you is like 50% plus of people, is this information is then sent to Slack. And then our setters can then see that the people started filling out. It sends the partial application, and then they stop for whatever reason. And then these people, right, the people that are the partial applications can be prioritized, right? So instead of, let's say, if we're looking at if we look at the hierarchy of people, it's like these opt-ins are less likely to answer a conversation or continue the conversation than, let's say, a partial submission, right? Because if you think about it, through this funnel is the opt-in is someone that just saw an ad and they came to this page and then they opted in. This person over here, right, in theory, they watched the VSL, they have a little bit of context, and they started filling out the form, which that in and of itself is a check mark or points added to their intent. So then we want to prioritize these people over the opt-ins. And we're still hammering the opt-ins, a ton of times. We're hammering all these partial submissions as well. But that allows, even this specifically, just if you think about it, is if you're only, again, allowing and getting people on the calendar that have filled out your entire application and have booked the call, then they are just, you're losing out on a ton of opportunity by not doing that. That plus the opt-in thing that we talked about a second ago. Now, you might be asking, okay, Aaron, well, like on GHL or on my booking form, like my Calendly form, I can just like add all the questions within the form, and then, the booking, I can just have it on the exact same thing. Well, there's actually 2 main reasons why we do that. Number 1 is we want to add friction to increase the lead quality, right? We want to make sure that we have different friction points. At this point, they've seen the ad, they've filled out their information on the opt-in page, they've gone through the application, and then they're going to book a call, right? So we talked about this before, is anytime you increase friction, you're also going to increase lead quality, right? Now, the downside of this is depending on the amount of budget that you have. We talked about this on one of our last videos as well, is if you have too much friction, depending on your budget, right, the amount that you can spend per day, then yes, you might get higher quality, but you're going to get less throughput. And a lot of times people are like, oh, this marketing thing, these Facebook ads don't work, but it's just because you have way too much friction for the amount of spend. So really it is kind of like an add and take away game. At the very beginning, if you have, let's say, sub $100 a day, I would probably put as minimal friction as possible. This entire system, I would say you can probably get away with if you're spending, 200, let's say minimum $100 a day for like this entire system, but you can still take bits and pieces of this if you're running at a little bit of a lower budget. So again, first thing is we add the friction. The second thing is it allows us to collect more data and see who's further in the process. So we kind of broke this down already, but this just takes it one step further, is we have it over here is we can prioritize based on the hierarchy or the intent of the lead. So, the opt-in is going to be less priority than like a partial app versus a full-on application, because, this partial app does go to Slack when they don't fill out the rest of the application. I think there's like a delay, like a 15-minute delay, that if the application doesn't get sent in within a 15-minute period, then this partial app, this is when this fires. But then if they do this pretty quickly, right, the application is that's only the application is going to come through. Hopefully that makes sense. But essentially a full-on application is going to be prioritized over a partial application. And then obviously the booking is going to go directly on the page. So very, very crucial here. Remember, add friction, you're going to increase your quality, but you might lose out a little bit of the quantity if you do that based on your daily budget. And then the last piece here goes into our book a call, which the third piece here that we're going to break down is really the secret sauce behind how we can get the highest quality people on the calendar possible by really optimizing on the call booking and the applications. Now, I need you to buckle up for this next section because this will quite literally change your entire business. Like the way that you can increase the efficiency of the calendar, like that's one of the main levers you can pull if you're trying to make more sales, is instead of having a bunch of like kind of like less than ideal or low quality applications or booked calls, if you could just wake up every day with 5 to 7 people that are ready, willing, and able to invest in your program, I mean, you're going to have a good time is all I'm saying. So introduce our application grading system. So as the name suggests, all we're doing is we are taking the applications and we're grading them, giving them a grade between 1 and 4. So 4 is going to be the best, going all the way down to the 1 being the worst. So 3 is kind of like, yeah, still good. 2 is like, kind of on the line. These are weird explanations. And then 1's like, yeah, we're probably going to cancel that application. So obviously we have our application. We already went through that, but really just kind of give you the main reasons why, or the main kind of parameters that we use is the 3 last questions that we talked about, right? You can add more if you want, you can add less if you want. This is kind of like the middle ground that we found to where it's not too much friction, but it's really the bare minimum of information that we need in order to grade these properly to be able to help them. Now, obviously, name, phone number, email, that type of stuff, like we don't use that unless it's like test@test.com or, Mike John or whatever their names is. Like if it's obviously a fake application, that's going to get a 1 and that's going to get canceled. But these are the 3 main things that we look at. So the way that these are broken down is with these 3 questions, we can gauge what is their current situation in terms of their business. We can gauge their offer to offer alignment. So can our offer actually help their offer scale, right? Very important because we want there to be alignment there. And then number 3 is getting the decision maker. So, the last question is like, are you a CEO, manager, whatever, is we want to make sure that the decision maker, if they click that as an option, is obviously it's going to get graded higher. Now, the way that we actually use this from a calendar management perspective, I'm going to show you guys a kind of an example calendar down here, is the people that are graded on as 3s and 4s are going to stay on the calendar, and the people that are graded as 1s and 2s are going to get canceled and sent off to a setter, or I'll show you here in a second, they're going to be set for shorter times to be able to triage call them and then ultimately gauge their intent. So I'm going to give you guys an example of like what these actually look like in Slack itself, but I want to show you the difference and why this is so powerful for your calendar. So your calendar before would probably look something like this on the left side. It's like this first person that's booked in, right? They fill out the application, they book a call, and this person, let's say they're good to go. They're like, okay, I have the money, I'm ready to move forward, I'm the CEO, right? I'm ready to go. That would be graded a 4. Right. But let's say this next person, now I know you've had this conversation with people, is, you jump on and like they're on their phone and, you get towards the end of the call and they're like, oh yeah, that was way more than I thought. This is pretty prevalent in the B2C space, right? A lot of times when you're teaching someone, let's say make money online, right? BizOp, is you're teaching them how to make money because they're not financially in the spot where they want to be. So it's like they're in this weird chicken or the egg where they don't have the money to invest, but they're on the call because they want to make more money, right? So this would be like an unqualified person. Yellow would kind of be on the cusp. It's like maybe they have the money, but maybe they're not the decision maker, right? So this is usually what happens is like you have a good call, great, but then this one was like, okay, I just wasted an hour, right? Or not wasted, but your time could have been better spent doing something else, right? This one, it's like, well, it's kind of on the edge, but this was also not a good conversation. And then this one also not good, but this one was maybe on the edge. Maybe you could have closed it. This one was bad. They showed up on their phone and then you actually had a good call. Out of a 7 call sequence, you maybe had 3, in this, using this, right, as yellow being the 3, is you had 3 okay conversations or 3 good conversations that could have closed in the deal, and the other 4 hours were wasted, right? Versus of what you can do is if we're talking about, taking the 1s and 2s either getting canceled or to the setter, is let's say you have like a red application here. I mean, maybe this wouldn't even make it on the calendar, but let's say red, like in the application, they said, I'm doing below this amount of money. They have like, or I wouldn't say the test thing, but they're not making the right amount of money that they need to. They're just starting out. There's offer unalignment, and let's say they're like a marketing manager, right? Like that person will probably like the actual consultation will probably be canceled altogether, right? They wouldn't even show up. Like our ops manager, or you can do it yourself, which is go in and cancel that altogether. But what happens afterwards, right, when you can actually optimize is when you do this grading, the 3s and 4s, right? So the 3s and 4s being here, 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 and here, right, is from the previous day is all these people are being triaged. So basically this is what your calendar looks like. And you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 at bats, and all these ones and twos right here and here is you're setting 15-minute conversations because the application was like, okay, and maybe you can help them, but you're booking them for 15-minute slots, right? You would just take wherever they booked before, you would move it to a different slot and decrease the time, right? So that you can have just a short conversation with them and ultimately just get to the point. It's like asking them the questions. Hey, like in your application, you said you're making 10 grand a month, but like, are you motivated? Do you actually want to do this, right? What is the goal, right? And really on the 4 pieces of information on those calls, we're figuring out current situation, desired situation, motivation, and their pain point, right? Because with those 4 pieces of information, you can make the decision if they're going to actually get a full slot. And then, after this, you would have, let's say the next day, let's say this is Monday, is you would then maybe have some of these that are automatically being booked over here, right? And then based on, let's say, these 2 conversations, maybe this person was good, this person was good, and this person was good. But now based on this, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 call slots right across that are being booked. But these are all really high quality people, or at least closable people that are going to be high quality for you on your calendar versus over here, you only have really 3 main opportunities. Not to mention the psychological warfare that happens when you jump on these calls for 8 hours a day, only have 3 opportunities, and you're like, oh my gosh, I hate these conversations that I'm having. What's going on? So hopefully that makes sense. I know it's very different and very complex based on what you're probably already doing, but I mean, this is the difference. Answer this question, right? If you had 7 qualified calls every single day versus 3, how much more quickly could you actually grow the business, right? So let me just give you some ideas or examples over here of the way this is done. So essentially I'll talk about here in a second, there's a company, a buddy of ours, actually the CMO at Closer.io, his name's Spencer, is he created a company called SalesKick that basically does this entire process all through AI, which is pretty nuts. But if you don't have SalesKick, which maybe if you want, you can click the link down in the description and you can book a demo with Spencer and his team over there. But essentially what would happen is the applications would come in and, throughout the day, whether it's you or a VA, you would just go through and read the questions or the answers to the questions, and then you would just grade them, right? You can add it in the comments, you can add like the little emoji. You just grade it 1, 2, 3, or 4. So for example, this one here, right? This person said, okay, I do have a product or service over $2,500. I am doing $10,000 to $25,000 a month, and their offer is marketing consulting, and they're the owner and the CEO. So honestly, this was graded a 3. I would probably grade it a 4, to be honest with you. I think the only reason it wasn't a 4 is because this is maybe a little bit lower than we would want it to be, right? The 4 is like, they got to be doing like 50 grand a month plus. So, 3 might be actually right on this one. Now, this is an example of a 2, right? 2.03 is yes, they own an offer, or they sell a product over $2,500. They're below the $10,000 a month, but they have a good product service fit because, we're a recruiting company. So we're going to teach another recruiting company basically what we did. And then they're also the owner and the CEO. So this one was kind of on the cusp. There are 2, a setter is going to reach out to them, or they're going to be booked for a 15-minute slot or changed for a 15-minute slot versus the full hour slot. And the last one down here, this is graded a 1, right? You can see, yes, they have the product, but they're in real estate. We don't really help real estate people unless they're like a real estate coaching offer. So usually anything outside of industry that isn't directly in line immediately is going to be a 1, even if they're doing, and well, this person's doing 10K a month, but even if this was, let's say 50K per month, if this is out of offer, everything else could be good, right? Owner's good. They do sell that product or service. They're doing good money. If this is out of alignment, it's immediately going to go to 1. Because we can't help them, right? It doesn't make sense for us to have an hour-long slot with those people if not, but because it's a 1, it's not going to get canceled. It's just going to get set to a 15-minute call so that we can just clarify, right? Hey, in your application, you said real estate. Are you like a real estate agent, or are you a real estate coaching business, which we can 100% help, right? But we would much rather have a 15-minute conversation than to fill an entire hour slot not knowing that one small piece of information. But if they're good, right, if they have a coaching company, then hey, we'll book them the next day. Here's a 4 coming at you. Well, in this case, it would probably be a 3 because they're under the 10K per month. So this is, I know a lot in this information, but these 3 things in the end of this funnel right here will absolutely change your life. And then also this thing down here over here as well. If I need to make another video really going deeper into this, I obviously can. Last thing I want to cover here is really the secret sauce behind this is SalesKick. So there's one other specifically thing that I don't know how he does this. I'm not technical in this space, but the reason we're able to really hammer down on getting the highest quality possible is because what Spencer's built over at SalesKick is not only is this done 100% automatically through SalesKick with AI, but he's he's figured out a way, I don't know how, is when people put in their name, phone number, and email, it's cross-referenced and thrown out into the ether, and they can pull back financial data. So literally what can happen is he can pull back credit score, estimated income based on their job, as well as different offers that they could potentially be pre-approved for if they came through the funnel. It's like absolutely nuts. I don't ever really endorse anything on this channel other than what we do. I mean, technically Spencer's a part of the company, and I'll put a link down in the description if you want this. To be honest, if you're not doing at least 10 to 20 grand a month, I probably wouldn't even look into this, but I just wanted to throw this in here because it's been a massive game changer for us to completely automate this process, and I would definitely look into that if you wanted to. Now, all the information that I went in through here, we covered the entire funnel, but if you don't have this first part right here, I mean, everything else is going to implode because your costs are going to go high, you're going to generate low quality people, and you're not going to get the right people in your funnel that you need to buy and ultimately pay for you to help them and ultimately make an impact in their life. So if you don't have that, that's completely fine. You can click the video on screen. I'm going to bring you to the entire video of me breaking through how to write the ads. Should you do direct versus indirect based on your specific offer? And when you have the right ad, you can take the rest of this and really run with it. So click the video on screen. We'll see you over there.